Welcome to Digimon.
Hello and welcome to Digimon and welcome to another deck profile. If you like this sort of content, please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel and ding that notification bell so you're not missing out on any of the latest content. I have decided to do this one with actual cards, with my hands, without anything else going on, because I actually have this deck constructed. We are, of course, talking about the CS deck. I did a very short Bait or Busted last week, and apologies that was a shorter Bait or Busted. I had some issues with the script, where I had written the entire script, and then my computer crashed, and I hadn't saved the script, so I had to rewrite the script, and re-record. It just, yeah, it went really badly. So, apologies that was a shorter one compared to previous Bait or Busted, but hopefully you guys enjoyed that all the same. I'm now much happier with the profile for this deck. I think there are still some improvements to make, and obviously the thing with CS is that more than I think any other deck out of the box, we have so many different ways of playing it. You can focus a bit more on some of the battle tricks like raiding and piercing. You can focus a little bit more on control, removing things through bottom decking. You can do so many different ways of it. You could run a slightly more budget version than this one, there where, you know, instead of going for the Kyokos, you're instead looking to run stuff like Rie, you know, maybe doing stuff with more of the Jimmy Ken stuff. You know, there's loads of different angles for this deck, and this is how I'm happy with it at the moment. But that being said, it can always be improved, and if you guys think it needs improvements at all, let me know in the comments below. I absolutely do not mind that. You know me at this point, guys. Anyways, let's get into the card by card, starting with, of course, the eggs. It's got to be 4 copies of the Wanyamon. This is a pivotal part of your engine when it comes to this deck. So we're going to be using it when we are essentially placing a CS trait Digimon card in the sources of our Digimon. And then you may Digivolve into a CS trait Digimon card in the hand with the Digivolution cost reduced by 1. So this one just lets you kind of go off for the whole engine, and really gets you off to the races. But of course, how do we put stuff into our sources? Well, the way, of course, we do that is we're going to use our rookies. And first start off, we'll go with the 4 copies of Terriermon. So Terriermon, all of these guys have a your turn effect when you place something underneath, but they all share the same inheritable, and this is the kind of the inciting instant for your engine, if you will. So by placing the CS trait Digimon's top stack card as its bottom Digivolution card, draw 1 card. So it helps you with your consistency, places something underneath, and then you trigger the your turn effect. And in Terriermon's case, this one does essentially goes, when effect places Digimon cards with the CS trait in this Digimon's Digivolution cards, if you have 1 or fewer Tamers, you may play 1 Tamer card with the CS trait from your hand without paying the cost. We have a lot of different ways of playing Tamers out in this deck, and this is kind of the initial way of doing that, and in fact really helps you kind of do the full combo where you are going to be playing out your Ami Aiba. Ami Aiba will then recognize that you Digivolve up into something else, and then will Digivolve further. Really, really good. But Terriermon is a great start to the engine. Then the next rookie, who I kind of, between Terriermon and Palmon, I think it is for the best rookie in this deck. It is Palmon, and Palmon, of course, has the same inheritable effect to draw a card by placing the CS card at the top as the bottom Digivolution card. But instead of playing out a Tamer, you gain a memory, which is pretty damn cool. Whether or not that's better than playing out a Tamer, I don't know. I think it's kind of situational sometimes. Like if you've gone very late into the game, you've already got your Tamers out, Terriermon is basically useless. But, you know, Palmon is much better as you get into the swing of the game, because you can just, you know, gaining memory is never a bad thing. And then the last rookie we have in this deck is going to be 3 copies of Hagurumon. I was originally playing around with 2, but I then found that we just didn't have enough rookies, but I didn't want to put this one up to 4 just because Hagurumon is just not as useful as the other 2. Yes, it has the same main effect as the inheritable, but its your turn effect just kind of puts a -3k on something, which is good. Not gonna lie, it's good, but it's just not as useful as these 2. You know, we have other ways of DP minusing, for example. This just kind of adds on the top of that, but it is still pretty good though. So, you know, don't knock Hagurumon before you try him. Next, let's go into our level 4s, starting with 4 copies of GoldNumemon. Now, we are not playing PlatinumNumemon in this deck. You absolutely could, but I find that you just don't really get to use the full value of the PlatinumNumemon enough. But GoldNumemon, you can use it all the time. So Its on play and when Digivolving effect gives one of your opponent's Digimon minus security attack 2, which is really nice, and that's until the end their turn ends. If you've got 2 or more same level cards, then you do get to do the warp into BlueMeramon, but obviously in our build, we're not worrying about that. But it's the inheritable that's really important. When this Digimon would Digivolve into a Digimon card with the CS trait, reduce the Digivolution cost by 1. So essentially, if you're doing that kind of combo where you've got your egg there, you've got your rookie, you've got in the back with your GoldNumemon, you use your Hagurumon to go underneath, all of a sudden your next Digivolution is going to cost you 1 less, which is pretty nice. So if you don't have your Ami Aiba, then that means your next level 5 is going to cost only 2. If the GoldNumemon is up here, then of course that's only going to cost you, that's going to cost you less when you're going up to your level 6. And God forbid, if you've got 2 in the stack, then that's pretty damn nice, isn't it? That's pretty darn effective. Let's be frank. But GoldNumemon is definitely the kind of the best level 4 we have, just because of the fact it makes everything so much more efficient. Next, we're going to go into our 3 copies of Gargomon. Now, I am toying with the idea of bumping this up to 4, but I didn't like the idea of having the other level 4s as 1-ofs. I wanted them at least at 2-ofs, so I have got Gargomon at 3, and to be honest, we've got other ways of playing out Tamers, so I don't think we need this at 4 right now. If I find I'm missing it, then I will bump it up. But essentially, he is just standard. If you have 1 or fewer Tamers, you may play a Tamer card with the CS trait from your hand without paying the cost. And it gives you 1000 DP all turns, which is pretty handy, to be fair. Then we've got 2 copies of our Togemon. So Togemon is quite nice because of the fact that it gives us access to Raid and Piercing. On play, when Digivolving, one of your Digimon gets 3000 DP for the turn. Then if this Digimon stack has 2 or more same level cards, this Digimon gains Raid and Piercing. Also get 2000 DP as the inheritable, so you can give yourself a nice cheeky 5000 DP with this one. So not bad at all. And then our last level 4 is the 2 copies of Guardromon, who is pretty clutch a lot of the time because of the Digivolve. I think I've gone at great lengths to say in all of the previous videos going into the BT22 format, I think Digivolve is going to be one of the best removal tools that you can have going forward into metas beyond. I mean, it always has been, let's be honest. But, now we've got decks that are just like, oh, cool, now I'm not going to be, if you delete me or remove me or whatever, I don't care. Digivolve could get around those, so having that Digivolve is nice. Specifically, the Digivolve goes as thus: so one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 3000 DP for the turn. Then, if this Digimon stack has 2 or more same level cards, Digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon. Also, the inheritable is really nice, giving you 2000 DP on the opponent's turn. So when you're on the defensive, that is pretty handy. Then going into our level 5s, which I'm dropping, apparently. We've got 3 copies of RizeGreymon. Again, I am kind of tempted to bump this one up to 4. It's got Raid. If you've got 1 or fewer Tamers, as it's one Digivolving effect, you can play without the cost a red or black Tamer, or with a play cost of 4 or less, or 1 Tamer card with the CS trait, and then give security tap +1 as the inheritable. Again, a lot of the time, as per your full combo, if you've got the Terriermon and the Gargomon, you'll have already played out your Tamer, but that security tap +1 is always going to be really handy. Then our next level 5 is going to be 3 copies of Okuwamon, who has the bog standard green level 5 inheritable at this point, which is when this Digimon deletes your opponent's Digimon in battle, trash their top security card. So many different Digimon have got that inheritable on a level 5. It's always all turns. It's, the Metal Tyrannomons have got it. Triceramon from EX7 has got that. So many different level 5s have this inheritable, I swear. And in this deck, it is quite nice because of the fact we do have access to Raid and also blocking as well, so we can block them and trash something. But it's got Fortitude, so if you're looking for Fortitude tribal stuff, this could potentially go in that, I suppose. On play when Digivolving, suspend one of your opponent's Digimon. Then, if this Digimon has stack has 2 or more same level cards, return one of your opponent's suspended Digimon with the lowest DP to the hand. So it's kind of like a bit of a neutered Lilymon from the structure deck, so the Adventure Lilymon, where instead of bottom decking, it's just bumps them to the hand, which is not that bad. It's not the best form of removal, just putting it back into your hand. Obviously bottom decking is much better, but it will do, and sometimes it's good enough to get around stuff like aces. Next, we've got 2 copies of BlueMeramon. So I put this one in here. Originally I had this at 3 and I had Okuwamon at 2, but I just started preferring having that removal tool with the Okuwamon. Plus obviously the thing with this is you need to have the right situation where you're going to keep turn with its main effect. So it has Alliance. Main, by paying 3 cost, you may play 1 play cost 5 or lower Digimon card with the Flame or CS trait from your trash without paying the cost. Then this Digimon may attack. So what's really nice is because of the way this deck works, if you have managed to put one of your other level 5s underneath, so say your RizeGreymon, this becomes a triple breaker essentially. You're not going to be doing that all the time. You're mostly going to be doing that with your level 4s, but in the situation where you have done that, then this is going to be quite big. Also gives Alliance to as the inheritable to any of your level 6s, which, given you've got ways of kind of playing stuff out with this effect, for example, with one of our level 6s, then that Alliance can be really handy, and just kind of gives us a backup security tap +1. Again, the security tap +1 from RizeGreymon is a bit more consistent, so tempted to bump that up to 4, possibly maybe remove this guy, but I do also really like the BlueMeramon. It's pretty cool, given the kind of, it gives you a bit of aggro if you've not managed to get into your level 6s straight away. Speaking of our level 6s, first one we're going to start with is Alphamon, who I've got at 3 copies. Alphamon is kind of, as boss monsters go, is insane. He's got Reboot and Blocker. He could Digivolve on top of CS trait Digimon or on top of Kyoko Kuremi, if you've got 3 or fewer security cards, which is important. You need to make sure you meet that requirement. We'll get into why later. It's got an on-play when digivolving, when attacking, not once per turn effect. One of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 5,000 DP for the turn, and then all turns, when this Digimon suspends, if Kyoko Kuremi is in this Digimon's Digivolution cards, or if this Digimon stack has 2 or more same level cards, it gets 3,000 DP until your opponent's turn ends. Then this Digimon unsuspends. And a really common question with this card is, do you have to have Kyoko Kuremi in the stack to unsuspend? No, you don't. You don't have to have Kyoko. You don't even have to have the 2 same level Digimon to unsuspend. You only need the Kyoko and the 2 same level Digimon to gain the 3,000 DP. The unsuspend is a separate sentence, works in the same way as, for example, Mirage Galgamon Burst Mode. I remember that was a really common one, where it bottom decks something, it gains memory, then unsuspends, so similar kind of thing. Alphamon can just unsuspend regardless of the situation, and is really strong because of that unsuspend. If he hasn't managed to boost himself, he's only going to be 12k, but if he has boosted himself, that's 15k, potentially more thanks to your inheritables. And with the right inheritables, like your BlueMeramon, like your RizeGreymon, then you're going to be doing 4 checks, in one go with Alphamon, which is insane, along with that great removal. Next, we've got 2 copies of Diaboromon, who I am very tempted to bump up to 3 in this deck, because he is an absolute MVP. So, although the rest of the Diaboromon stuff doesn't really work with the rest of CS, it's a bit more kind of Diaboromon unidentified focused. This guy is, basically all of the CS level 6s, and apologies, I think I just kicked the camera. All of the level 6s that have the CS trait have some level of genericness that you can use. And this Diaboromon is absolutely a showing of that. It's got Alliance. When digivolving, when attacking, you may play Diaboromon token without paying the cost. So obviously make sure if you're fielding this deck, you've got to make sure you have your Diaboromon tokens to hand. Then all turns, when any of your Digimon with the unidentified trait are played, delete one of your opponent's Digimon with the lowest play cost. And this guy is always going to be playing out something when he's attacking or when he's Digivolving. So, you're guaranteed to still get that effect off. Thanks to his Alliance, you're going to be doing 2 checks straight off the bat, potentially 3 with RizeGreymon or with BlueMeramon. So, yeah, the Diaboromon is really good. Then our last level 6 one, I've kind of put in here because it's one of my favourite Digimon and I just wanted to have him in here. It's Gaiomon. Is he necessarily the best level 6? Maybe not. Has he come up a lot in this deck? No. but damn it, I just wanted in him here because I love Gaiomon. I'm a Greymon stan and I want Gaiomon. You could play somebody like Dianamon instead. You've got stuff like Kentorosmon as well. But I wanted to play Gaiomon because he is cool and I could see some really great kind of ways of using him in this deck. So he's got Raid and Reboot. When Digivolving, you may unsuspend one of your opponent's Digimon, then this Digimon may attack. So you literally force them to unsuspend, so you've got a Raid target. And then all turns, when attack targets change, this Digimon gains Piercing and 5000 DP for the turn. So with Security Attack +1, with the trashing from your Okuwamon, you're gonna be breaking two shields each time. So I think that's pretty cool. Is he as useful in this as Diaboromon or Alphamon? Probably not, but I still really like him. I could swap him out for Dianamon potentially. Dianamon is of course really good, removes sources, also does bottom decking, so I would be tempted to put that back in. I might even try and I think we've got a tournament running tomorrow, so I might even run that tomorrow just to see how that goes. At the same time though, I want to have some loyalty to my guy, But I really like Gaiomon anyway. Let me know in the comments if you think he should be in the CS deck. Next, we've got our Tamers. So I've got 3 copies of Ami Aiba. I probably need to bump this up to 4 because it is such a really impeccable part of the engine. But I just haven't yet. So I might see if one of the guys has a spare copy at locals tomorrow, or I might see just if I can order one at some point. But Ami Aiba is fantastic. So start of main, if your opponent has a Digimon, gain 1 memory, and then when any of your Digimon with Digivolve into a Digimon with a CS trait, if it has a Digivolution card with the same level the Digivolve as the Digivolve Digimon, by suspending this Tamer, that Digimon may Digivolve into a Digimon card with the CS trait in the hand without paying the cost. So your full combo, and we kind of went over this in the Bait or Busted video, where I probably will explain it a lot better. You've got your Terriermon, you've got your Wanyamon. Let's also then say we've got our so we've got our Gargomon in hand, and we've got our GoldNumemon. We've got GoldNumemon in the raising. You're going to push up, you're going to use the main effect, do this, play out Ami, then you're going to use Wanyamon to Digivolve up into a Gargomon, play out another one for example, then Ami is going to recognise that. You're then going to go Digivolving up into your level 5, let's say you went into RizeGreymon, potentially play out another Tamer, and then go up into your level 6. So it's just it's a super quick combo that does a lot of work. Also, I'm definitely not putting these back in the right order. I cannot be asked. But Ami Aiba is absolutely fantastic, and I definitely think I should bump her up to 4, and I think a lot of people are doing the same. Next, we've got 2 copies of Kyoko Kuremi. I am not going to be bumping up Kyoko Kuremi because I've got a holiday coming up, and I don't really want to fork out for another secret rare. But Kyoko Kuremi I think is just fine at 2. I also got really lucky with the alt art, which is really cool. Came in the same box as an SP Yuugo, which I don't have to hand now. I actually traded it in immediately. I struck the iron whilst it's hot, straight away, so I've traded that away, but I do have photo evidence of it, which I'll put up on screen. But Kyoko is really nice. So she's a memory tamer, so it's going to sit easy to 3. All turns, when any of your level 4 or higher CS trait Digimon are deleted, by suspending this tamer, return 1 CS trait Digimon card from your trash to the hand. So if your boss monster dies, you could just use Kyoko to get it back. Then your turn, when this tamer unsuspends, if you don't have Alphamon, this tamer may Digivolve into Alphamon in the hand with the Digivolution cost reduced by 2. So Kyoko can Digivolve up into the Alphamon. Of course, it has to be, though, with the right requirements. So as we kind of discussed with Alphamon, Alphamon does only Digivolve on top of Kyoko if you have 3 or fewer security. And Kyoko, as you might have noticed with how I worded that, does not ignore Digivolution requirements. It reduces the cost, but it does not ignore Digivolution requirements. So if you don't have 3 or fewer security, you cannot use that effect to Digivolve. That's just how it is. There's no fandangling it. There's no, getting around it. You just can't. She's not infallible. It would have been really cool if she could do it without Digivolution requirements, which is what we kind of put in our prediction video. But at the same time, that would be kind of busted So, you know, it's kind of well balanced. But Kyoko is really good for that trash recursion, getting back your pivotal pieces from the trash. Then our next two tamers, I've got 2 copies of Yuuko Kamishiro. I don't see a lot of people fielding her, but I decided to do so because A, she's an additional way of gaining us memory at the start of the turn, which we do need, and she's also a way of getting some Digimon effect immunity. So when an attack target is changed, by suspending this tamer for the turn, your opponent's Digimon effects don't affect one of your Digimon with Greymon in its name or the CS trait, and it gets 3000 DP. So that means that if you raid with your Gaiomon, or if you block with your Alphamon, you suddenly gain a DP boost and you gain some form of effect immunity. And although this deck can recover very quickly from being removed, having a way of not being removed, I think, is still a plus. If I decide I don't like her, then I'll take her out. There's definitely some other things you could do. Maybe put in more of your memory boost, or maybe some mirror eyes, something like that. But I do really like the Yuko, and you know, she's here to stay for me. Plus, also, if you got blocked by something as you're going in with your Diaboromon or something, you do that. Cool. There was an attack target change. My Diaboromon is now boosted. Screw you. Then we've got 4 copies. This is our last tamer of Yuugo Kamishiro. We can't have Yuko without her brother, and I've gone for 4 copies of Yuugo because he is a really good consistency tool in this deck. Reveal top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 card with the CS trait among them to the hand, return the rest to the bottom of the deck. Then when any of your Digimon or Tamers with the CS trait will be played, by returning this tamer to the bottom of the deck, reduce the play cost by 2. And then in a similar vein, I'm going to go skip slightly to our option, which is 2 copies of Kuremi Detective Agency, which this, essentially, while you have a CS trait Digimon or Tamer on the field, you can ignore the card's colour requirements. Then you main, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, add 1 CS trait card among them to the hand, return the rest to the bottom of the deck, then place this card in the battle area. Delay effect as well, gain 2 memory. And the reason I went for 4 of the Yuugo versus 2 of the Kuremi is the Yuugo we can play out for free via some of our tamer playing effects, so your Terriermon, your Gargomon, and your RizeGreymon. So it just means you can just get a free search during one of your combos, which is really nice. You know, it could mean you dig into your level 6, or you dig into a different tamer you might need, you know, whatever. And the fact that you can also use him to just play out another tamer for a reduced cost, again, is really, really good. There's no having to wait on that. So the moment he's been played out, you can use that effect. You know, unlike with the memory boost, where not only are you have to pay 3 memory to use it, you also have to wait a turn to gain that memory. So I just think Yuugo is the better searcher of the 2 because of the fact that you can utilize his search potentially for free, and then also reduce the cost of one of our tamers. So I think that's really good. But that is the deck, guys. Let me know what you guys think of the CS deck. Do you think it's going to be the next big meta threat? Do you think it's going to be just kind of overhyped? You know, let me know. I know we want to try and do a tier list video soon for BT22 because we are desperate to do Jank Tank Chen. We completely lost the opportunity to do that during BT21 because we had so many illnesses and injuries and stuff like that. But you know, we just had people off. You know, we want to try and rectify that and get Jank Tank 10 done sometime during BT22. So we need to do a tier list, and we're going to try and do that. You know, not straight away. So by the time you guys are seeing this video, it's going to be 2 weeks into BT22. So this will be the 2nd week after release. So I think we're going to aim to do the tier list during the 3rd week of release, with the hope that, you know, we'll start seeing a bit more of an idea of how these decks are doing in the meta and stuff like that. You know, granted, you also, I think, technically speaking, you could make an argument that you probably want to make a tier list at the end of a format, but because we're playing around the Jank Tank tournaments, we don't have that luxury. So we're going to do it. I think we're going to aim for the 3rd week of the BT22 format. But anyways, guys, like, subscribe, ding that notification bell, and let me know what sort of decks you guys are playing right now, what other profiles you guys want to see. Obviously, I've been doing a lot of BT22 deck profiles in advance, you know, and now we are fully in the format. So let me know what other things you guys want to see. You know, what other decks are kind of on the menu, as it were. But anyways, until we see you again on the next video, keep it digital.